Makasaysayang araw po sa inyong lahat. Hi, I'm Xiao Chua, Filipino public historian and author. This is Virtual Sentro Rizal Educational Series. It's showtime! So remember, after 4 decades of American rule in the Philippines, the Americans had always promised that they are going to grant independence to Filipinos. So 1916, nagkaroon ng Jones Law that eventually would lead to the Tidings-McDuffie Act and the transition period from 1935 to 1946, which is supposed to be the Philippine Commonwealth, but of course it was aborted by war by 1942, no? So ang nangyari dyan ay eventually after the war, America would now fulfill its promise 10 years after 1935 na bibigyan na nga tayo ng independence. So on July 4, 1946, sa seremonya na nangyari sa Rizal Park, Luneta, the Philippine flag was raised and the American flag was lowered, signifying that the Americans are, shall we say, recognizing Philippine independence. Pero I like what Emilio Aguinaldo said during that time. At ano ito? Isinahuli lamang ng mga Amerikano ang kalayaang kanilang inagaw sa atin noong 1898. So that's why what we do now is we recognize, because July 4 from 1946 to the 1950s, July 4 was our Independence Day. Ang problem is kasabay siya ng US Independence Day. So number one, it's so hard to invite guests. That's the problem. It's so hard to invite guests. Pupunta sila sa American Independence Day rather than the Philippine Independence Day. The other thing is, it seems like if our Independence Day is tied to the American Independence Day, it is as if totoo nga yung neo-colonial setup ng Pilipinas, which was happening at that time. Diba? That the Americans were meddling in our affairs, in our politics, and so Diosdado Macapagal decided, upon the prodding of some historians like Gabriel Fabella of the Philippine Historical Association, to change the date of Independence Day to June 12. Now, what is June 12? June 12 is the date when Emilio Aguinaldo in 1898, while the Philippine Revolution was winning against the Spaniards in many places in the country, decided that it's time to declare Philippine independence after 333 years of Spanish colonialism. That's a big achievement of our heroes. That, of course, the problem was the Americans were already here, and eventually they decided to conquer us. We established our republic at that time, and there was the Philippine-American War. So the problem was the independence was aborted, but in spirit, we were already a nation. Kaya, June 12 ang sineselebrate natin ngayon. So that we recognize our aspiration for independence, yung kagustuhan natin at yung desisyon natin na malaya na tayo. Okay? I hope that's clear for all of you. Salamat. Well, remember that the propaganda movement, when they advocated for change in the Philippines, remember that there were 2 Spains at that time. What is the 2 Spain? According to Manuel Sarkisians, the 2 Spain is the Spain in the Philippines was backward. There were no rights. There was little education. It was backward. The other Spain was very, very liberal. There are a lot of rights for the people. There was education, there was representation, there was freedom of speech. You can attack the government, you can, say your piece to reform the country. So, what happened was, the propagandists, according to Father Schumacher, John Schumacher, wanted to make these reforms also applicable to Filipinos, to Indios, and to the Philippines. And so their strategy was to first seek for reform while they're also talking about Filipino culture, our distinct Filipino identity. Rizal wrote about our ancestors, and so did Pedro Paterno, Trinidad H. Pardo de Tavera, and all of these people. Marcelo del Pilar. And so, the strategy was, eventually, when we are ready, when people are educated, and when there are already reforms that are happening in the Philippines, then eventually we can ask Spain to peacefully separate us from them. In a revolution that is bloodless. In an independence movement that would be bloodless. Of course, despite this, despite yung magandang adhikahin ng mga propagandista, the big problem was they did not listen. And so the other vision, of course, was already being laid out even before Jose Rizal came home to establish the La Liga Filipina. And that was the establishment of a revolutionary society, not to ask for reforms, but to already break away from Spain. And that was Andres Bonifacio's Katipunan. Kataas-taasang, kagalang-galang na katipunan ng mga anak ng bayan. The highest and most venerable association of the children, the sons and daughters of the people. So, the Katipunan wanted to separate from Spain, and they also got from the propagandists the emphasis on our own identity, and they were able to completely do that in the Katipunan, because in the propaganda movement, they were still in many ways Western. The limitation of Rizal was that he was Western-minded, because he was already Western educated, and all these propagandists. And so Bonifacio was in many ways more independent thinking, kasi ang isinusulong niya ay yung kulturang Pilipino, ginagamit niya yung wika niya para maintindihan siya ng mga tao, wikang Tagalog at that time, and he was using concepts that are understandable to Filipinos. So, how do they say nationalism? For the propagandists, it would be political rights. But for the Katipunan, kapatiran. Magkakapating tayo based on the sandugo of our ancestors, the blood compact of our ancestors. Because the bayan was created because of the sandugo of the datus. And so we're creating a new bayan. There are many bayan in the Philippines. There are bayan Ilocano, bayang Tagalog, bayang Bisaya, bayang, Bicolano, bayang Moro. But in Bonifacio, everyone will become united. Maging isang puso at isip, papagisahin ng loob at kaisipan ng lahat ng mga Tagalog. They call all of these people Tagalog, Tagailog, and that we're going to have, shall we say, kaginhawaan. So, it's not just political rights. It's loving each other as brothers and sisters and having a maginhawang buhay, maginhawa, well-being, that all our needs are met and that we are healthy, we are healthy people, we are people living comfortably with all our needs that are met. This was the dream. This was the dream of the Katipunan. Of course, the problem was the visions of the Western-minded Ilustrados and the Katipunan clashed when the Philippine Revolution happened. And this is evident with what happened, the power struggle between Emilio Aguinaldo and Andres Bonifacio, in which, of course, the Ilustrado power clique won against Bonifacio. These are the, shall we say, the birthing pains of our republic. The birth of our country is not glorious, but we can pull lessons from those. Many times, what happened is the great cultural divide gets in the way of us understanding each other. So the elite were the educated, the Western-minded people who got colonial education from the time of the Spaniards, from the time of the Americans, and eventually from even the contemporary times, and the people from the bayan. And many, many times, hindi magkaintindihan talaga. Ang politika, ang kultura. But, you know, kahit papaano, maski papaano, the good thing about Filipinos is that more or less, many times we still have pakikipagkapwa-tao. So despite the divisions in our politics, sometimes the problem with us is that, you know, we fight with each other when we have a greater enemy. Before it was colonizers, now it's poverty, it's foreign intrusion perhaps. But despite that, there's still hope, because even if we fight in Facebook and we know we fight tooth and nail in Facebook, nag-uusap pa rin tayo kapag ka tao sa tao. And we still see pakikipagkapwa with each other. People are nice to each other. People still can talk to each other. So I just hope na manatili sa atin yun, because we see in other countries, ordinary people kill for politics. Ordinary people kill for race, for religion. It shouldn't happen here. Kailangan mapanatili natin yung pakikipagkapwa-tao. And of course, remember that the cause of the nation is also extended not just to the people in the Philippines. Because you have Filipino culture, because you have Filipino blood, you're part of that nation. Even if you're not here, even if you're away. Because the important thing is that hindi napuputol yung connection natin sa isa't isa at nag-uusap tayo.